Hey everyone, as promised, I wanted to kind of walk you through what we've got for Project 2. So hopefully you'll be able to see this little tiny screen of me and then also the assignment sheet. I'm going to kind of walk us through it, talk about what these expectations mean and how they'll shape your approach to Project 2. So as you know, we have shifted into Module 2. So we'll be working on this mini iSearch project until about week 10. So we're going to spend time collecting sources, reading those sources, drafting, revising. We're also going to have some conferencing. So we'll meet one-on-one via Zoom or Teams to talk about your project. You'll also notice that this project might feel a little bit different than other research that you've done. That's because I'm asking you to, in addition to sources, use images and hyperlinks. Don't worry about that. Those come in draft 2 of this project, but that's something that might feel a little bit different to you than other research projects that you've done. So in general, the parameters of this project, you need at least 6 sources, 3 scholarly, 3 non-scholarly. Eventually, you'll integrate 2 images and 2 hyperlinks. The essay should be approximately 1,800 to 2,000 words, double-spaced, and you get to choose your citation method. Whether you choose MLA or APA, you then want to follow every little nuance within that citation method. We are also writing this research in first person, which most likely will feel pretty uncomfortable as you start drafting. But we're using first person as the speaker of I, the researcher, instead of I, who have all the opinions. We'll talk about how to make the language of your essay work in that direction. So you are picking a topic, any topic of your choosing, to research. I want you to also remember that we are not just finding sources to support something we already believe. You're finding sources about something you're interested in. Once you've read those sources, you arrive at an informed position. That informed position becomes your thesis statement. And then you support that thesis statement with evidence from your sources through your body paragraphs. As you work through the assignment sheet, you'll notice that you are going to, after you've collected sources and read them, we're going to talk about how to develop your thesis statement and topic sentences. Then you'll begin integrating your sources. When we integrate sources, there are 3 different ways we integrate sources. You integrate with summary, paraphrase, and direct quote. All 3 have parenthetical citations within the body of your text. Throughout your essay, all 6 of the sources that you've collected will be cited multiple times. We're moving away from that idea of cherry picking to check boxes. So you have 6 sources. Many people might in the past have just found 6 things, 1 from each source, to put into their essay. You should be using approximately 2 sources per paragraph, not every paragraph, but if you work toward that, then you'll definitely integrate enough evidence and information from your sources to support your essay throughout the project. Once you've written your first draft, developing the content, you will then integrate images and hyperlinks. These 2 elements will help provide clarity, comment on, or add to in some way to the content that you're writing. Consider how some of the memes and images in your syllabus for this class comment on the content that it's beside. We'll talk about how to integrate images and put captions on those images to provide descriptions for your readers. Those captions create accessibility for all readers of the content that you write. In addition to the essay itself, you're going to write a document that I call the rhetorical rationale. The rhetorical rationale is something that asks you to think about all of the decisions you made throughout the writing of your essay. This means small decisions like citation method, paragraph size, images, hyperlinks, sources, topic. All of those things were decisions that you made working up to this project. So you're talking about the why behind the what of the project. This just helps you explain why you did what you did, just in case you didn't necessarily do it as successfully as you hoped. Throughout this project, you'll hit 4 goals of this course. You're going to practice academic research writing. You're going to develop critical thinking and rhetorical thinking about a topic. You're going to hone the ability to analyze and synthesize sources. And then you're also going to be able to practice your in-text citation. When we do our research writing, whether we're in an English class or another course, sometimes we accidentally plagiarize because we've miscited something or forgotten to cite something. And so part of the goal of this class is to help you avoid that potential issue later down the line. You're also learning how to write and support a thesis statement. And then finally, the thing that might be most important is that you're actually learning about something that interests you. I'm not interested in assigning topics. That tends to lead to disinterested writing. And so I want to read what you want to write about. Do know, as I mentioned in your research, using the sources and finding the databases in the previous video, you're not gonna find sources super quickly. It's not gonna be the first 6 that you find. You want to remember that topics are not black and white. Even if there are pro and con sides or right and wrong sides, etc., there's gray area in between. Most of us, we tend to fall somewhere in between, this is completely great or this is completely bad. And so reading these sources kind of helps you figure out where you fit in that conversation. As I scroll down here, you'll see your submission timeline. Project 2 has 3 mini activities that support it. So the first thing you submit is your working bibliography. That's due on September 25th. Then mini activity 4 is your thesis statement and topic sentences. We'll be doing peer review of that particular document. After mini activity 4 is when draft 1 is due. We'll conference that project and you'll peer review it. And then mini activity 5 comes next. And that's where you've selected the images and hyperlinks you want to integrate into your project. And then project 2 or draft 2 of project 2 is due October 11th. That will integrate revision and expansion from peer review and conference with me. It will place the images and hyperlinks into the body of the text, and we will workshop that as well. Then on October 19th, your final version of this project is due, and we'll move on to our next module. So this project is going to take up a goodly amount of time so that you can really engage in both the research and writing process. So as you can see, your assessment for this project focuses on 5 key things: source integration, staking your claim and supporting your position, language and genre awareness, right? This is an academic research paper, so how we write our style and content should fit that genre. Audience awareness, you have multiple audiences here, right? You're gonna write to me, I'm the person grading you, but your peers are reading this. You may end up choosing to submit this project as some sort of undergraduate research project. And so you want to think about audience in a little bit more robust way than writing for your teacher. This helps you engage with how context and purpose affect how you reach your audience and the engagement of those rhetorical appeals, ethos, pathos, and logos. Finally, you will be assessed on surface level details. I call this GUMP, grammar, usage, mechanics, punctuation, and punctuation, yep. And this helps you make sure that there is sentence level clarity. We don't work on surface level details until probably the end of draft 2, because you don't necessarily need to polish your essay until your content is more solid. That doesn't mean you don't want to fix things that you know, right? So like capitalizations, end punctuation, things like that. You do want to try to use that, but you don't want to focus on fixing grammar until you have the content of your essay. And as the same, similarly to project one, you will submit a final draft, but there will still be time to make edits and revisions until it lives in your ePortfolio. One thing to note, project two is the project in your portfolio that you will show the entire process for. So that means you want to make sure that you save feedback that you get from me and your peers, that you keep separate drafts. I know that most of you are drafting in Google Docs, which is why each time you submit something to me, you upload a PDF or a Word document. That kind of is a snapshot of what that essay looks like at that moment, so that when we get to that portfolio, which we'll start talking about in more depth about week 8, you'll be able to actually have the documents that you need. So keep that in mind as well. Don't get rid of anything, right? If your peers give you a document of peer review, make sure you keep it. Make sure you keep my feedback. The good thing about doing peer review in D2L on the discussion board is that a lot of it stays on the discussion board, so you can access it later. So hopefully, if you weren't able to be in class, or you were in class but you had a question, this little walkthrough of this project helped. And so as you move forward, the first thing you're doing is being sure you've selected a topic that is due on Friday. I'll give feedback pretty quickly on that. That way you can get rolling on source collection. Unless you are deciding between 2 topics, don't wait for my feedback. You can go ahead and just start finding sources. If you are pretty sure which direction you want to go of those 2 topics, that's fine too. But again, I will get that feedback back to you quickly so that you definitely know you're good to go on the topic. We will be meeting in class during week 6 as well. So we can also talk in more depth about what you're doing, especially in terms of how we're integrating sources, when we integrate sources, and the approaches to that, so that you're ready to go on the drafting for those weeks where we are remote versus face-to-face. So be sure, if you have questions, you can email or tweet at me. And I hope that you have selected your topics and that there's something you actually care about.